So thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful, of course. I also do a Patreon, link will be in the description. Now let's get into this. So, we got a nice little boxing show out in Thailand this morning. Srisaket Rungvisai defeats Amnat, I can't pronounce his name, Rosenberg, I think is it? I can't pronounce the guy's name. Even the commentators calling him by his first name, so we're just going to call him Amnat. I think it's Amnat or Amnat, it doesn't matter. Basically, this was a 10-rounder over in Thailand. It was Rungvisai's first fight since he lost to Juan Francisco Estrada last April. And it was funny because the opponent he was fighting, I've seen him fight before. I think he's lost to guys like Zhu Shiman and John Real Casimero. The Casimero fight I actually seen, didn't see it live, but I've seen it on YouTube several times. He was stopped by Casimero. Casimero, who's gone on to, have great success. He's beaten guys like Charlie Edwards and Lani Tete. Whenever we get the fight with him and Inoue, it should be a decent fight. So he's been in there with some good opposition, and obviously against Rungvisai, you're in there with a 2-time WBC champion, and some people might still have him on the pound for pound list, but me not anymore, not since he lost to Estrada. But the thing you need to remember is that the opponent, Amnat, he is 40 years old. He's an old man, and people can say whatever you want to say. Okay, yeah, he's 40, but a lot of fighters go on till they're 40. Not fighters who are super flys and flyweights, and this guy had the majority of his success at flyweight. Very seldom you see fighters that age, even when they're in their early 30s, at that weight, they're starting to look over the hill. But early on in this fight, I should say, the opponent, Amnat, he was game. His timing was very good. He was, doing some good movement. He was really tricky for Rungvisai to figure out. Rungvisai looked very poor in the early half of this fight. Very, very poor. He was headhunting a lot. His timing was off. He was letting his hands go, but not in the way we're used to seeing it. He just looked like, he almost looked lost in there. He didn't look like he had the fire in him. He didn't look like the Rungvisai we're used to seeing. That could partially be for several reasons, of course. Obviously, even though this was in Thailand, it was still behind closed doors, so it was kind of a gym atmosphere, so maybe Rungvisai is someone who needs the crowd. But as well as that, if you look at Rungvisai's record, he is one of the most active fighters you'll see. I mean, the guy's had, nearly 60 fights, maybe even more, and he's always had activity. So even when he was WBC champion, he was fighting little 10-rounder non-titles over there in Thailand. So this is a guy who's always been active. So for him to be out of the ring for as long as he has, well over a year, when you've been in the ring active as long as he has, consistently taken over, even when you have world title, you're still consistently taking over, the ring rust has got to be evident. And to me it was. It almost looked like Rungvisai, he needed those first 5 rounds, which, he won a couple of those first 5 rounds, because the opponent wasn't really doing much. He was still having success. There was rounds there where Rungvisai would control, I think one of the rounds was 3rd round. Rungvisai's offense was getting him through that round, but near the end, he would just get caught with silly little shots. Didn't have much power on him, but he'd get caught with silly little shots, and that would just leave a lasting impression in your mind. Even though you knew Rungvisai was doing the more work, his opponent was just catching him with little shots here and there. He was moving, he was moving a lot. Rungvisai would lunge in, and that was the thing. His timing early on was just horrific. And one thing I noticed early on from Rungvisai was, Rungvisai is someone who goes to the body a lot, and he has success with body shots. He takes the wind out of your sails. Rungvisai was just exclusively going for the head early on in this fight. Once he started going to the body, that's when he started having success. Because you got a 40-year-old man in there, okay, who's been a bit inactive himself, by his standards anyway. This is a guy who might not have the best tank, especially now. At these low weights, taking all this weight off, 40 years old. Why wouldn't you just go to the body? Take the air out of him. Go to the body, bring the hands down, because the opponent, Amnat, was just holding his hands up a lot. And as I said, Rungvisai was just hitting gloves and arms a lot of the time when he was going to the head. So once he went to the body, you saw it straight away when he started going to the body. He was having success. He was slowing his opponent down. And then towards the end of the fight, that's when Rungvisai really warmed into it. That's when the timing started to come good. That's when the offense started to come good. And that's when he really took control. Pretty much between rounds 6 to 10, he pretty much won every round. So it was a good performance in the second half of the fight, but a performance that, by Rungvisai standards, is going to need to address. There's a lot of improvements there. I mean, they were saying that they want to do Roman Gonzalez versus Juan Francisco Estrada, which is a good fight. We'll see their rematch. And they want Rungvisai to face the winner. Now, against Estrada, he will need to be at his top game, because Estrada is a very good operator. This is assuming Estrada wins against Chocolatito, which is no foregone conclusion. But against Estrada, he'll probably get stopped based on that performance. So Rungvisai, he'll need to, really knuckle down and just get rid of that ring rust, get the timing better, go to the body, be the fighter that you're known for, the guy who throws a lot of punches. If Chocolatito wins the Estrada fight, well, he'll still need to be at his A game, but that'd be very interesting to see a trilogy fight between the two, because you wonder, although Chocolatito looked fantastic beating Kal Yafai, he really did. He looked like, a new fighter against Kal Yafai. That was Kal Yafai. Kal Yafai is not on the level of these guys. Kal Yafai hasn't knocked you out brutally. Alright, so it'd be interesting to see if Roman Gonzalez fights Rungvisai again, if there'll be trauma, especially considering the last one. I mean, because the first fight, it was close. I thought Gonzalez just nicked it, but it was very close. It was a great fight, the first fight. But in the rematch, you could see Gonzalez wasn't really there. Mentally, he just wasn't at the races. And then to get knocked out brutally, you wonder if he gets back in there with Rungvisai, would it be a similar result? So, those are my thoughts on this. Like I said, it was a decent little scrap. It was better than the fight that was on last night, but it had to be expected. These little guys, they really can. When they really go for it, they can throw a lot of punches. But definitely improvements need to be made by Rungvisai, but with the way things are, he's got plenty of time to do that. But I think the one thing that I took from this was the inactivity definitely hurt him. Because as I said, this is a man who boxed very, very regularly, even when he was champion. And to go from fighting, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times a year to not having a fight in, a year and 4 months. Yeah, you're going to notice it. You notice you notice the timing wasn't right. You notice that the fight that should have been easier for Rungvisai ended up being harder. So, those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Of course, if you are new, leave a comment down below. What do you think of the fight? Did you see it? And as always, people, before I go, people, thank you for dropping by the channel. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed the video that you just saw. Remember, please like and share. It really, really helps me out. I do have Patreon as well. You can go over there. There's some podcasts up now. Go and have a listen if you like it. All well and good. Thanks a mil for all the support, people. I will talk to you.